welcome back everybody to another episode of NHL Daily Talk. I'm your host Iacob and joined by my other host Kyle Wasalinchuk. Say what's up to the fam.
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, we're back with another episode, of course, and yeah, we're happy to be here, of course.
Yeah, of course I had to get, I told you guys the next video we were gonna do, I was gonna get a nice trim, so I had to get a nice trim, for you guys. But anyway, the topic goes as following. We're going to be talking about our news topics for today. Then we're going to be talking about the NHL scores, NHL schedule slash starting goalies, and finish it up with everybody's favorite, the picks of the day. So with that being said, Kyle, go ahead and introduce the first topic.
Yeah, actually, Jakob, I did a trim too, but it's not the same kind of trim. I trimmed my beard, so now it's just a beautiful
Uh,
stash and the nice slick haircut. So
I
we're
love
we're
it, bro. I
we're
love it.
chilling,
Yeah,
bro.
I had to shave the beard off too, bro. It's growing back a little bit, but obviously, we had to shave it off
hmm
because, yeah, we looked very kind of homelessy, to be honest.
I had that five. I still got that 5 o'clock shadow, but that's all right. But anyways,
That's
our
okay,
first
man.
topic of the day, and we will start with some injury news as we have a couple replacements on the Olympic rosters. But first of all, I'm going to talk about a player who's been around the league for a very long time, and he's kind of become a journeyman the last few years. But we are talking about forward Ryan Reeves, who is currently on the Sharks, and he's been placed on injury reserve. And hopefully for him, it won't be too long because I know he's 39 and nearing the end of his career, and hopefully he can be back soon and not too long after the Olympic break.
Yeah, no, I do know my girlfriend kind of likes Ryan Reeves, so yeah, this news might devastate her a little bit, but it is what it is. Your body at one point needs to learn when you need to learn how to control your body, and at 39 years old, I'm not surprised his body's slowly but surely starting to give up on him. So yeah, but best speedy recovery, and we wish you all the best in your recovery session. With that being said, the next injury slash replacement for the Olympics is that Sam Bennett is going to replace Anthony Cirelli at the Olympics because Anthony Cirelli, as many of you have known, has gotten injured during the Stadium Series games. And we have learned that his injury will be past the Olympics, which means he will not be able to play, unfortunately. And that gives Sam Bennett the chance. Everyone thought
Mm-hmm.
the next person would be Zach Hyman. I've read some comments that the next person would be Zach Hyman, but let's be honest, the Canada needed a center, and Sam Bennett is the perfect center that can actually replace, Anthony Cirelli and his stats and his play, and he's more of like that penalty kill kind of guy who can come in and defend the penalty if we need to, But yeah, very good pickup by the Canadians. At least we have players that we can, swap them back and forth if they ever get injured.
Yeah, no, that's the good thing is like Canada's got a plethora of players. Like you could have gone, Zach Hyman, Mark Scheifele, Wyatt Johnston. There's a endless amount of selections you could have made, and yeah, I think Sam Bennett makes sense. He's a similar player to a guy like Anthony Cirelli, and frankly, I think I like it. I like this move by Canada, and I think that it will be good. And best of luck to Sam Bennett at the Olympics now, of course. And
Yeah,
hopefully,
a lot of people have been mentioning it because they didn't know how long Cirelli is, so they were like,
hmm
a lot of people were predicting that Sam Bennett was gonna go because they needed a center. But yeah, moving on, Kyle will say the next injury slash replacement.
all right. Well, Finland had to make a replacement, and unfortunately for them, their replacement came in net. And Jonas Korpisalo, who is a Boston Bruin, is getting his chance to go to the Olympics with Pekka Luukkonen getting injured for the Buffalo Sabres. So, unfortunate for Pekka, but he's still young, and barring a career-ending injury or a lot of Finnish goalies coming up, I'm sure he'll get another chance in the future, and will probably get to represent his country very soon. But yeah, great for Jonas Korpisalo, and best of luck to him. And since the calendar year flipped, he's been pretty damn good. So it makes sense that he's the replacement ultimately.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that Jonas Corposalo has been playing it. Hey, Kyle, every time you drink water, you don't need to show me the glass, bro. I get it. Just drink your water and put it away. You don't need to do that, bro. And now, moving on to the next news that I have is that, and this is a trade that actually fell through. So this was a trade that was gonna be done before the Andres Palat trade. And the Islanders and the Predators were going to make a trade, but then the Islanders wanted something differently than what the Predators wanted, so they obviously moved in different directions. And
Hmm.
The Islanders ended up picking up Andre Palat, but Michael Bunting was actually going to get traded to the Islanders, but it fell through because what the Predators initially wanted for their draft pick was a 2026 draft pick. But unfortunately, the Islanders, on the other hand, they wanted a 2027, and both parties couldn't come to an agreement, and unfortunately, that deal fell through. But now we know that Islanders got a much better player in Andre Palat.
Yeah, no, Michael Bunting, ever since signing his latest contract, has been flipped around quite a bit, and I do think he's probably going to end up moving before the deadline, but well, ultimately that depends on how the Predators end up doing here. But yeah, no, Jakob, do you know how many? Like, do you know where he's been since he signed his deal with Carolina?
I don't even know. He's probably been a bunch of places.
Well, he was with Arizona to start his career. Then he ended up in Toronto for a couple seasons. Signed with Carolina, only made it to the deadline. Got traded to Pittsburgh. Then he made it to last year's deadline and got traded to the Preds.
Dang, so he's just getting traded at every single deadline.
It might happen again. It all depends on how the Preds are doing this year, but we'll see. But
That
yeah,
is true, though.
no, I mean, ultimately, yeah, if two teams can't come to an agreement, the trade will fall through, and that's what it is. But yeah, definitely, I think that was definitely worth talking about because I mean, there's a lot of trades that fall through in the league, and you don't hear about a lot of them because they never get spoken about. But no, I mean, good for the Islanders to still go out and get a guy that they want, and for them that was Andre Palat. But yeah,
Mhm.
unless Jakob, you got something to add, we'll move on to news about another Predator.
You're funny. You're funny, bro. You're funny, bro. You want to copy my thing from last time? You're funny, bro. Just move on to your next thing.
That's crazy, bro. I wish they were the Predator. Wait, they are the Predators. Well,
Out, bro. Just
oh
move
man.
on. Just move on, bro.
Yeah, that's really funny. You can't lie.
It was funny. It's because you copied me from my Roman Yossi joke.
Bro, I didn't even try to do that. It just kind of came out. And it's like, it's like mouth vomit where it's like, ugh, and it just comes out and you don't have any control over it. Okay, anyways, I will move on. Steven Stamkos, who scored 2 goals last night, actually ended up reaching 20th on the all-time goals list, and he has 609, and it moved him ahead of Dino Ciccarelli. And congrats to him as scoring, not only 600 goals but reaching top 20 all-time in the league's history. I mean, we all know Stamkos is a good goal scorer because we've seen a lot of him in Tampa, now in Nashville, and yeah, he's definitely earned his spot on this list. And he's not the same player he was when he was scoring 60 goals in his prime, but still a damn good shooter.
No, very good shooter, very good shooter. Has been red hot, and he's going to stay red hot because the Predators have actually found themselves some good guys over there. So we'll see what that they will do. But we will move on unless Kyle has something else he'd like to say. We'll move on to the next topic, which for this topic, Alex Ovechkin has moved past Wayne Gretzky for fifth most points in with a single franchise, meaning with one team. He is now behind Gordie Howe, Steve Yzerman, Sidney Crosby, and Mario Lemieux. He has 1,670 points with a single franchise, and he beat Gretzky by 1,669. So, congrats to Ovechkin, and we do know that he did beat that scoring record, I believe, sometime earlier this or last season. So,
Yep.
congrats to him, and many more to come for him.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Ovechkin will score more, and we will see his contract. I mean, I will fact check this real quick because I'm not sure, but I do believe his contract is up at the end of the season, and I'm just gonna check that. But yeah, no, good for him to break another record, and for the grade eight. I mean, Jakob, is it really surprising?
Mm-mm.
No, not at all. But here,
Nope.
I will check. Yes, Ovechkin's contract is up at the end of the year, and he is 40 now. So we will see what the grade eight decides to do. But I do believe that no matter what he decides to do, whether that's retire, stick around, I think it's the right decision for him and his family. And yeah, hopefully more records to come. But on that note, Jakob, are you ready to move on to scores of the day?
Actually, sorry to interrupt. I didn't write this on the podcast because I wanted to keep it a surprise, but I do have some tragedy news regarding a killing yesterday. It wasn't on the NHL, so that's okay. But Unfortunately, yesterday, three young kids, three young junior hockey league kids. One of them was from um, one of them was from Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. The other two were from British Columbia. They were playing juniors for I believe they were playing, let me double check real quick to tell you guys. They were playing for the Southern Alberta Mustangs in Calgary, near Calgary. It was like that area of Calgary. And they were driving actually to hockey practice. And when a semi truck that was pulling gravel actually crashed into the small passenger van at an intersection. Unfortunately, all three of them have been passed away. The names of all three of them are Caden Fine, which I believe some of my friends do know him because he's from Alabama, so a lot of people have played with him. And the other two were Cameron Casosro and JJ Wright, who are both 18 years of age. So rest in peace to all three of you guys. You guys died really young, and I hate when people die, especially young kids who, especially those kids who are going to the sport they love. And yeah, it hurts, but prayers to their families, condolences to everybody. And yeah, we wish them the best of luck as they recover from this huge tragedy.
Yeah, you're all in our hearts.
Definitely, definitely. And the last time I do remember, the last time that something like this, affected a lot of people was the Humboldt Broncos car crash back in 2016, I believe. So we don't like when, in junior players get killed because those junior players could eventually become NHL players. That's the next generation. So
Yep.
yeah, other than that, Kyle, do you have anything else to say regarding this, or would you like to move on?
Let's move on, bro.
All right, let's do it. We'll go talk about the NHL scores of the day, which last night we did have a few games to talk about. And obviously, of course, like always, we're gonna make our picks at the end of the video, right? But when we do our NHL picks, we're gonna tell you guys our picks from yesterday. But I will go ahead and mention the first game from yesterday, which was the Buffalo Sabres and the Florida Panthers. The Buffalo Sabres came out on top 5-3, despite the Florida Panthers outshooting the Buffalo Sabres 42-20. It was a very, outshot game, but Alex Lyon played himself a fantastic game. And with this is the Panthers' fourth straight loss. And Matthew Tkachuk actually had something to say. He told them that, this is a team that has been battling through injuries, so obviously they're not playing their best. They don't have their best players. And I agree with Matthew Tkachuk. Florida, they've lost a few players. They lost, Sam Bennett had to leave yesterday's game due to an injury. Barkov has been out a couple months now with an injury. So goal scorers real quick. Sandis Vilmanis made it 1-0 for Florida. Evan Rodriguez made it 2-0. Then Tage Thompson made it 2-1. Peyton Krebs made it 2-2. Then Zach Benson made it 3-2. Elvis Balinskins made it 3-3. Then on the power play, then Jason Zucker also on the power play in the third period made it 4-3. And then Josh Doan made it 5-3, not on an empty net, just on a regular goal. And the three stars of the game, Jason Zucker was the first star with 1 point. Rasmus Dahlin was the second with 2 points, and then Sam Reinhart was the three-star with also 2 points. The goalie performances, obviously for Buffalo, it was Alex Lyon who allowed 3 goals on 42 shots and had a 929 save percentage. And on the other hand, for the Florida Panthers, it was Sergei Bobrovsky who allowed 5 goals on 20 shots for a 750 save percentage. And if you're Sergei Bobrovsky, you want to play a bit better because that is not a type of performance for a NHL good caliber goalie like Bobrovsky.
Yeah, no, Bobrovsky, in the regular season this year has not shined, but neither has his team. And, we'll see what happens, but good win for the Sabres and moving on. All right, our second match of the day had the Senators visiting the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Senators take this one out 3-2. And, this is a big win for the Ottawa Senators as, maybe I think they were favored in this game, but by no means are they necessarily a favorite. I don't know why I did them, bunny ears or whatever, but yeah, no. So we'll go over the goal scores. Yegor Chinakhov opened the scoring for the Penguins. He's been very good since arriving in Pittsburgh from Columbus, which that was about halfway through the first period. Into the second period, early in the period, Michael Amadio scores the only goal of the period, and he ties the game at 1. Then going into the third, Tim Stutzla gives the Senators the lead 2-1 on a backhand shot. Then, just a couple minutes later, Tommy Novak for the Penguins ties the game. By the way, Chinakhov did have an assist on this goal too. But then Claude Giroux, with just over 5 minutes left in the third period, scores your game winner, and that's where the score was then. And for your 3 stars of the night, Tim Stutzla is your first star with a goal and an assist. Claude Giroux had a goal as your second star, and Artur Shilovs with a 903 save percentage is your third star of the night. Albeit not great numbers, but he did have an excellent night. The Senators did outshoot the Penguins 31-16, which, if you're the Penguins, like honestly, there's no excuse. You need more shots in a game like this. Period. There's 16. You can't expect to win a game almost ever. But yeah, we'll go over Allmark's numbers real quick, which he allowed 2 on 16, which gave him an 875. But he faced 16 shots. It's like if you save enough of them, you're gonna win anyways. So it didn't matter. So good win by the Senators, and they definitely earned themselves these 2 points.
Yeah, good performance. And moving on to the next game, which saw the Washington Capitals beat the New York Islanders. Despite the New York Islanders outshooting the Capitals 30-25, this game ended 4-1 for the New York Islander for the excuse me the Washington Capitals. And we'll go over the goal scorers. Matthew Barzal opened the scoring for the Islanders in the first period with 16:38 on the clock. Then Martin Fehervary made it 1-1. Anthony Beauvillier made it 2-1. Then Nick Dowd made it 3-1. And then John Carlson on an empty netter made it 4-1. The 3 stars of the game, Clay Stevenson was the first star of the game, allowed 1 goal and had a 967 save percentage. Then Martin Fehervary was the second star with 1 point, and then Nick Dowd was the third star with 2 points. And the goalie performances, like I've mentioned already for the Washington Capitals, it was Clay Stevenson who had a 967 and allowed 1 goal on the 30 shots he's faced. And for the New York Islanders, it was David Riddick who allowed 3 goals on 24 shots for an 875 save percentage.
Yeah, no, not an ideal game for the Islanders, as they did outshoot the Caps, and yeah, it is Martin Feravari, by the way, Iacob, for you.
Fehervari. I got it.
Fehervari, as you said before.
Fehervari. Fehervari.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We get it wrong. Even I get the names wrong from time to time. I don't know if I've said any wrong on this podcast, and if I have, feel free to correct me. I don't care.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
But anyways, moving on to our next matchup, and this one was a good one. Well, unless you didn't have anything else to say, did you, Jakob?
No, I'm
Okay.
good. You can go.
All right, we had the Habs visiting the Minnesota Wild, and in this one, the Wild take this one out on top 4-3 in overtime, and the shots were pretty low in this one. 24 for the Wild, which ultimately beats the Canadiens 20, and I would have expected more in a matchup like this. I would have figured that the offenses would have been high flying, but your first goal tonight scored by Joel Eriksson Ek just 38 seconds into the game. Then, pretty much 15 minutes later, Kirill Kaprizov scores to put the Wild up 2-0. But right near the end of the first, Brendan Gallagher decides to pot one for the Habs so that they don't end up, falling too far behind. And in the second period, right near the end of the period, the Habs once again get a late goal in the period, and it's Ivan Demidov. And then we go to the third period. Just 12 seconds into the third period, the Habs take their first lead of the night on a Kirby Dach goal. Then 7 minutes later, which this is less than halfway through the period, Brock Faber ties the game at 3, and it would stand at that until in overtime. 3 minutes 38 seconds in on the power play, Kirill Kaprizov buries the OT winner. And your 3 stars of the night, Kirill Kaprizov, 2 goals and the overtime winner is your first star. Brock Faber, your second star with a goal. And then Quinn Hughes is your third star of the night with 3 assists. And for your goaltending performances, Jakub Dobesh for the Habs ended up saving 20 out of 24 for an 833, which not ideal. And, that's back to the Habs having some goaltending issues at points this season. But that's not what we're going to talk about right now. And Philip Gustafsson, 17 saves on 20 shots for an 850 save percentage, but they got the win, and that's all that matters. Good 2 points for Minnesota.
Yeah, and Kyle, there you have nothing else to say. I'm ready to move on to this extreme comeback by one team. But we'll move on to the St. Louis Blues and the Nashville Predators. And at one point, the St. Louis Blues were up 5-1. And the
Mhm.
Predators came all the way back and won in regulation. So I'll go over the goal scorers real quick. But Jake Neighbors opened the scoring for the Blues to make it 1-0. Then Ryan O'Reilly on the power play made it 1-1. Pavel Buchnevich made it 2-1. Then in the second period, Pavel Buchnevich again made it 3-1. Philip Broberg made it 4-1. And then Colton Parayko, his first of the season, made it 5-1. And that's when we thought, the Blues were going to win this one. No. Michael McCarron made it 5-2. Philip Forsberg made it 5-3. Ryan O'Reilly made it 5-4. Then Steven Stamkos again made it 5-5. And Steven Stamkos, who would have thought that it would have been anybody else but Steven Stamkos would score the winner with halfway through the third period on a poke to make it 6-5. And the 3 stars of the game. The first star was Roman Yossi, who had 4 assists. The second star was Steven Stamkos with 2 goals. And the third star, his buddy, Ryan O'Reilly, was the third star of the game. The shot total was actually in favor of the St. Louis Blues. It was 34-28. And when it comes to the goalie performances, Joel Hofer allowed 6 goals on 28 shots for a 786 save percentage. And for the Nashville Predators, it was actually a mix of both. It was UC Saros who allowed the first 5 goals on 21 shots. And he got pulled after that. And then Anunin comes in and makes 13 saves for a shutout for his own. And doesn't allow a single goal. And maybe that was the reason why the Predators made that goalie switch, just like Connor Ingram and Tristan Jarry when the Washington Capitals beat the Edmonton when the Edmonton Oilers beat the Washington Capitals. We saw it again right here, where a goalie performance can maybe dictate the game. So yeah, good performance by the Predators. And obviously, if you're a Blues fan, you want more from your team. You don't want to blow 4 goal leads.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And I would love to hear Lucy's take on this. I wish she was here to, talk about this game. And, yeah, maybe for Blues games from now on, maybe you'll have to get her as a guest appearance when you can.
Maybe if I can, I would definitely will. I don't know what she's doing right now. She's probably doing something, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, maybe next time I'll have her. I'll ask her for her take next time, next Blues game, and I'll read it to you guys so you guys can see what she wants to say. But yeah, I don't know. Her team has been making her a little upset. So I'm sorry, Lucy, but the Blues are not looking good right now, and
Womp
it's looking
womp.
bad. Yeah, but I can see where all her emotions fall.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Nice.
All right. Well, in our next matchup, we have the Chicago Blackhawks who hosted the San Jose Sharks, and they ended up taking this one out 6-3. And ultimately, Connor Bedard got the best of Macklin Celebrini. And I don't know if you saw Iacob, but there was a clip going around that Macklin Celebrini, because Connor Bedard was mic'd up. Celebrini says, "Center ice, let's go," and then he wanted
Yeah,
to
I saw
fight.
that, bro.
Oh, that was so funny, and I would have loved if they'd actually gone. That would have been gold. And hopefully next time they actually do play against each other, maybe we see a fight between these two. But we'll go over your goal scores on the game. Speaking of Connor Bedard, 7 minutes into the first period on the power play, he buries the Hawks first the night. Then no goals were scored until the second period. So Connor Murphy with his fourth of the year, 2 minutes into the period, puts the Hawks up 2-0. Then Ryan Donato, at the halfway point pretty much, makes it 3-0 for Chicago. And Sam Rinzel, just a minute after Donato scored, makes it 4-0 Chicago. And that would stand as the game winner on the night. But the Sharks ultimately didn't go away at this point. Will Smith scores to make it 4-1 in favor of the Hawks. But then Ilya Mikheyev says "nuh-uh" and scores the fifth for the night for the Hawks and makes it 5-1. But Macklin Celebrini before the period ends scores to make it 5-2. Then going into the third, Shakir Mukamoldin scores for the San Jose Sharks 2 minutes in to make it 5-3 in favor of the Hawks, but the Sharks couldn't muster up another one. Ryan Donato ultimately potted one more for the Chicago Blackhawks, and final score was 6-3 for the Hawks. 3 stars of the night, Donato had himself 2 goals and 2 assists. As your first star, Ilya Mikheyev had a goal and 3 assists for 4 points for the second star of the night. and Connor Murphy had a goal and an assist. And I would like to point out that Jason Dickinson did have 2 assists as well. So that line for the Hawks was buzzing all night, and good for them. They ultimately earned their team this win. But for your goaltending performances, Spencer Knight made 24 saves on 27 shots for an 889 save percentage. So pretty good, and ultimately the Hawks won, so don't matter too much. But the Sharks ended up splitting both goaltenders. Do you remember who started last night, Jakob?
Oh God, I believe it was maybe Nedeljkovic.
All right, well, let's just assume he started. Well, whoever started, I'll go over both goaltenders' numbers. But Askarov ended up playing 30 minutes and 6 seconds and allowed 4 goals on 10 shots. We only made 6 saves and had a 600 save percentage, which, ugh. And then Alex Nedeljkovic played the other 29, 24. Oh, sorry, it was 30, 36, but same, same. And he allowed 2 goals on 7 shots and had a 714. So not a good goaltending performance for the Sharks. And by the way, the Sharks did outshoot the Hawks 27-17. And yeah, I got nothing else to add. And that's it. And actually, Jakob, I'm gonna send you off to the next game. I'm gonna go take a washroom break for the first time on the podcast.
Oh, okay, but it was Askarov though. It was Askarov who started the net.
Mhm.
But going back real quick before you go to the bathroom, I think Malcolm Celebrini and Bedard didn't want to fight because they didn't want to ruin their pretty faces. The girls wouldn't be all over them if they did.
Oh, I see how it is. So they care about the girls.
Anyway, always that's what they do. Anyway, moving on to the next game while Kyler's at his washroom break, everybody. It saw the Dallas Stars overcome the Winnipeg Jets 4-3 last night in overtime. The Dallas Stars outshot the Winnipeg Jets 28-27. We'll go over the goal scorers real quick. Jason Robertson on the power play made it 1-0 for the Dallas Stars, and Gabriel Velarde made it 1-1, followed by a Cole Perfetti goal on the power play to make it 2-1 for Winnipeg. And Niels Lundqvist made it 2-2 for the Dallas Stars. Then going into the third period, Mikko Rantanen made it 3-2, and then Logan Stanley made it 3-3. And Thomas Harley, scores a backhand shot over Connor Hellebuck to win the game. And actually, Connor Hellebuck was a little upset after this call. I do not know why. Maybe, there was something previously that has not been whistled down. But yeah, Thomas Harley scored, and Hellebuck was kind of furious and upset with the refs. And yeah, with that being said, the 3 stars of the game was Thomas Harley, who scored the overtime winner, was the first star with 1 goal for 1 point. Mikko Rantanen was the second star of the game with 2 points. And then Cole Perfetti was the third star of the game with also 2 points. And with that being said, Dallas leads the series between them 3-0, and they play one more game on April 2nd at 8 p.m. for the final series. And welcome back, Kyle.
Well, thank you. All right. I don't know what
Uh,
I missed, but that's okay.
Connor Hellebuck allowed 4 goals on 28 shots for an 857 save percentage. And for the Dallas Stars, it was Jake Odinger who allowed 3 goals on 27 shots for 89 save percentage. So that was your final score. Dallas beat Winnipeg 4-3 in overtime.
All right. On to our next matchup. We had the Detroit Red Wings who were visiting you know, the best team in the league, the Colorado Avalanche, but they definitely did not play like the best team in the league last night, as the Red Wings got the best of them, 2-0. And your game winner on this one would come just 33 seconds into the first period on a Marco Casper goal. Then in the third period, Lucas Raymond did end up potting an empty netter, but yeah, that's insane. The game winner came 33 seconds in. You got to be joking. But the Red Wings did outshoot them 25-21. Your 3 stars of the night, John Gibson was your first star with, a shutout on the night, so congrats to him. 21 save shutout. Lucas Raymond with the goal and an assist, your second star, and the only other goal scorer and the game winner on the night, Marco Casper, is your third star of the night. And obviously, we know that, you know, John Gibson had a shutout. So for your Avalanche goaltending performance, Mackenzie Blackwood only ended up allowing 1 goal on 24 shots for 23 saves and still had himself a 958. So great performance by both goaltenders, but, Marco Casper's goal 33 seconds in was the difference.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the next game. But the Utah Mammoth, despite being outshot 24-19, overcome the Vancouver Canucks 6-2. And this was a game where yet another hat trick was scored. And I don't know what's going on with Nick Schmaltz, but he has been fantastic for the Utah Mammoth. But anyway, Nick Schmaltz opened the scoring 1-0 for Utah. Then Liam Ogren made it 1-1. Nick Schmaltz again made it 2-1. And then Mikhail Sergachev on the power play made it 3-1. Boston Cruz or Kraus made it 4-1. And JJ Paterka eventually made it 5-1. And then Teddy Bluger made it 5-2. And in the third period, on a wrist shot goal, Nick Schmaltz buries the hat trick for a 6-2, and that was the final score. The three stars of the game. Nick Schmaltz had himself 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points, and the first star. John Marino was the second star, excuse me, with 3 assists for 3 points.
I don't know if you can
And
see
the
it.
third star of the game was Lawson Krause with 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. And the goalie performances, real quick, for the Vancouver Canucks. It was Kevin Lankinen who had himself 6 goals on 19 shots for a 684 save percentage. Yikes. And for the Utah Mammoth, it was Karol Vizmelko who had himself 2 goals on 24 shots for a 970 save percentage. So good by one goalie, yikes by the other one.
Yeah, I don't have much to say, but congrats to the Mammoth for a good win, and yeah, moving on to the next. And this was the final game on your schedule for yesterday. We had the Toronto Maple Leafs visiting the Calgary Flames, which, by the way, they will be taking on the other Alberta opponent this afternoon or this evening. Sorry,
This afternoon, bro.
bro, we're in
Oh,
the we're in the afternoon right now. Okay, don't make me bash
that
my
is
head
true.
back. Anyways, the Leafs take the Flames down 4-2 in this one, and the Flames did outshoot them, albeit didn't matter much. And so the Leafs won this one 4-2, and we'll go over your goal scorers. William Nylander, just 35 seconds in the first period. I don't know what it is with these games here I'm taking today, Iacob, but every single game, I swear, has had a goal in like the first minute. But anyways, yeah, William Nylander opens the scoring. Then there's nothing more until the second period, until Matias Maccelli scores off of a William Nylander assist and makes the game 2-0 in favor of the Leafs. Then Troy Stetcher, at the halfway point of the second period for his third of the season, records your game winner, and that is Oilers legend Troy Stetcher for you. But the Flames weren't done just yet. Nazem Kadri, just 3 minutes after Troy Stetcher had scored, scores to put the Flames on the board and makes the game 3-1 in favor of Toronto. And then Joel Farabee a couple minutes later makes the game 3-2 for the Leafs. So at this point, this game was a bit scary for the Leafs, but ultimately there were no more goals scored until Bobby McMahon records the empty netter with 25 seconds left in the third period. And good win by the Leafs. They didn't necessarily play their best game of the season, but at the end of the day, they got the job done. And your 3 stars tonight, William Nylander with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Nazem Kadri is your second star with a goal and an assist for 2 points. And then Joel Farabee had the same styling, a goal and an assist for 2 points. And your goaltending performances, real quick. Joseph Wall, who played for the Leafs, ended up making 28 saves on 30 shots for a 933 save percentage. And for the Calgary Flames, we saw Dustin Wolf last night, and he made 18 saves on 21 shots for a 857 save percentage. And yeah,
Yeah, it's a good performance. And now we'll move on to the NHL schedule, which we will do as always. Kyle will say the NHL schedule. I will say the starting goalie. So with that being said, Kyle, take it away with the first game.
all right, our first match of the day at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets facing off against the New Jersey Devils.
That is going to be Elvis Merzlikins, as is confirmed on Daily Faceoff for the Columbus Blue Jackets against an unconfirmed Jacob Markstrom.
All right. Second match, same time, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Washington Capitals are visiting the Philadelphia Flyers.
That's going to be Clay Stevenson against Dan Vladar.
Yeah, Clayton Stevenson has been good, so we will see. All right. The next game, also at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is the last game at that time frame. We have the Ottawa Senators visiting the Carolina Hurricanes.
And of course, I'm actually surprised that none of the goalies are confirmed, but it's unconfirmed James Reimer against what is likely to be Brennan Bussey.
All right. Then 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Sabres visiting the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Both goalies are also unconfirmed, but it's going to be Colton Ellis against Andrei Vasilevsky.
All right, this game next game is at the same time. We have the Pittsburgh Penguins visiting the New York Islanders.
That's going to be likely to be Stuart Skinner against a confirmed Ilya Sorokin.
Makes sense. The Islanders did play yesterday, and it was David Riddick, of course. All
hmm
right. For our second last game on the schedule today, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs visiting the Edmonton Oilers, like I said before.
That's going to be Anthony Stolarz against Connor Ingram.
Okay. And then for the last game on the schedule tonight, we have at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, the Seattle Kraken are visiting the Anaheim Ducks.
And both goalies are unconfirmed, but it's going to be Philip Grubauer against Lukas Dostal. So there you have it, folks. That is your NHL schedule. Start starting goalies. Now we will move on to the NHL picks of the day. And since none of the games have started, of course, we can make picks from any game. But me, I went, I believe, 1 for 2 yesterday. I said the Detroit Red Wings was going to beat the Colorado Avalanche, which that one hit. But I said Philip Hronik was going to get a point for the Vancouver Canucks, which unfortunately did not hit. And Kyle, on the other hand, said the Vancouver Canucks were going to beat the Utah Mammoths, and unfortunately, that one failed miserably. And he said an Austin Matthews goal, which unfortunately, that one did not hit either. So, with that being said, yeah, Kyle's luck last night did not turn out in his favor, but today it will turn out because he will be going first.
Well, Jakob, I hold fate in my hands, and fate is telling me that today is going to be a great day. So,
Oh, Lord.
for my team projection, I'm going to actually take the New Jersey Devils to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets. And for my
Okay.
player point, I will take a Jordan Eberle point.
Really point. I like that. I like that. And for my pick of the day, I'm going to take the Buffalo Sabres to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. And I'm going to take a Sid the Kid goal.
Okay, I like it.
I'm not going point this time. I'm going goal. So there you have it, folks. Kyle went with the Devils to beat the Blue Jackets. And I don't even know. What was your player
Jordan
pick again?
Eberle points.
Jordan Eberle point. And I went with Sid the Kid goal and a Sabres win over the Lightning. So now with that being said, since we're on the YouTube channel, what is the question of the day, Kyle?
Oh man, we said we were gonna come up with this in advance, and I guess we forgot because we kind
Yeah,
of
I
like it
guess
was
we need
spur
to.
of the moment. We kind of just decided we were gonna record a YouTube video today.
Hmm.
That's a really good question to be honest, Jakob. That's a tough one.
I got one. I got one. I got one for everybody.
All
We
right,
got winning the who you got winning the Super Bowl on Sunday?
that's a
The
good
Seahawks or the Patriots? Let us know down below what you guys got. But I got the Seahawks personally because that's my team. But Kyle, what do you have?
Seahawks all the way.
All right, there you have it, folks. Kyle, is there anything else you'd like to mention, or are we ready to wrap it up?
Uh, no, I think we're ready to wrap it up. And Jakob and I are actually gonna hop on some Rocket League after this. Play some good
Of course
games,
we are.
and we got a tourney here in less than five. Well, I guess just over 5 minutes from now. So we're gonna try to play that duos tournament. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll hear from us. Maybe we'll say how it went tomorrow. But that's if we remember. So we'll see. But
That
yeah,
is true. That's true.
anyways, thank you all for listening, of course. We appreciate, all the support and everything. And we did post our first reel, by the way, yesterday. So please, if you haven't, go take a listen or, give it a watch on, NHL Daily Talk on Instagram. And have yourselves an excellent day, excellent rest of your week, and we will see you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.